and that'll show how smooth we are. Oh, shit. We're on.
Andy Campbell, it's in! Campbell comes off the bench to be a hero, a superhero. Breakthrough. It's taken a while, but it's been worth the wait for Cardiff City.
Hi guys, so just me at the minute. We're having a few technical issues with our guests tonight, but just bear with us. So welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Show. This is episode 86. Yeah, it's been an amazing journey so far. So just continue watching, continue with us, by the way, for this next little bit. A.C.E Podcast Nation, Sai does a host of shows, some amazing shows with some amazing characters. The mental health, which I think mine was on a couple of Sundays ago. Download them, have a look at them because they're amazing. All the A.C.E Football Show social media platforms are all at A.C.E Footy Show. And obviously the links will be at the end of the show. So please give us a follow. If you've got any questions, any comments, please stick them in the chat and I'll answer them if I need to keep a little bit busy or I can go into any other business. A huge thanks to Black Diamond and Martin Spate who help with the show. And also a big thanks to Darren Ralston, who sponsors the show, and Sai, who's going to play Darren's ad right now.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Hey guys, I'm Sai. Welcome. Massive shout out to Andy there, who had to on the fly take over my job, and he now realises how difficult it is. But
Not happening again.
Well, welcome everybody, and yes. By the way, this is episode number 86. I don't know if Andy mentioned that.
Yeah, I did.
Rattling along towards 100, and yes. So joining me, as you just heard, the goal collector, the fox in the box, the king of the Millennium Stadium, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, Davy Jones' favourite son, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm excellent, mate. Yeah, I'm a little bit calmer now that you've come back on, and I don't have to do that again. That was that's very different, by the way. That's all new to me. Just before we do start, and you do introduce our special guest. I know one person in particular who's super excited today is obviously a keen follower of the show. Obviously, my old man, he's like a kid in the sweet shop today. So once I'm sure he's going to put loads of questions in for our special guest, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because I know this gentleman really well. He's looked after me for quite a number of years, so it's a little bit of payback because I'll look after him tonight, I think.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, it's an absolute honour to have today's guest. He's a former Northern Ireland international, represented his country at World Cups in 1982, 1986. Made over 480 appearances for Middlesbrough, plus appeared for Hartlepool, and of course the mighty Cardiff City. It is the legendary Mr. Jim Platt. Welcome, Jim. How are you, mate?
I'm fine, thank you. It's pretty difficult getting on here, but I'm here now.
Great to have you on, Jim. Really, thanks. Massive appreciation to come on, mate. I'm really looking forward to it. I say that I mentioned there that we know each other really well. Obviously, Jim works on match days at the football club at Middlesbrough, and normally has special guests come on. And Jim's invited me on and looked after me loads of times with him and his lovely wife. And it's always great fun. It's always great fun to reminisce and catch up with people who are heroes at the club side. You know that we people class me as a hero at Cardiff City, which is lovely. You know, but I say, Jim, the amount of games he played for the football club, and the amount of things that he's achieved in his life and especially football career was just surreal and unbelievable. But it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. We've had many special, interesting, famous guests on the show, and for me, like Jim is someone you class as a grade A legend. When you've played in World Cups, like 82, 86. For me personally, those are the 86 World Cup is like the first World Cup which I remember. It's kind of around the time I fell in love with football, so it's nothing but an honour.
Why were you watching the World Cup in '86?
Because I was 5 years old, mate.
Just as a football fan.
I'm not falling into it, mate. I'm not falling into it. Wales were there in spirit, mate. In spirit.
Jim, so to start off with, Jim, we've got some quick fire questions called the Magnificent Seven, just so the viewers can get to know you a little bit. There's normally a few choice questions, but I think we've been quite kind to you today. I'll be honest, I think we've been quite kind. We've been a little bit naughty in the past with a few guests, but now there's some nice ones.
Yeah, I think I've been pretty good this time. So, right, already people saying what a legend Jim is, which is always good to see. Right, Jim Platt, the Magnificent Seven. Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
Jennings or Shilton?
Oh.
That's an easy one. Jennings.
Favourite TV show?
Oh, I like the Repair Shop at the moment.
Good answer.
I love it.
We've had loads of
We've
had some mad answers, haven't we? Some just very, very, very different answers, which is great every week.
Just want it to be nice and varied. Football now or back in the 70s and 80s?
Oh, definitely back in the 70s and 80s.
Like it. John Hickton or Graham Souness?
Oh, that's a difficult one. John Hickton played more games for Middlesbrough and Graham Souness did, so I'd have to go for John Hickton.
You've made one man very happy with that answer, by the way.
I was going to say.
One man very happy.
Northern Ireland 82 or Northern Ireland 2020?
Oh, it has to be Northern Ireland 82.
Good shout. And finally, the easiest question of them all, but always the most fascinating. Who is the greatest Northern Irishman of all time?
Well,
doesn't have to be football related.
Again, that's another easy one. It has to be George Best.
I'm sure we had exactly the same answer. We had Keith Gillespie on. I'm sure Keith said the same, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he was. I think he did say George Best. It's almost like an easy one, isn't it? Because he's such a legend and so highly thought of by everybody, not just people from Northern Ireland. I don't think. On the subject of legends, we mentioned on Friday's championship show that we lost a legend recently in Nobby Stiles. I was just wondering, Jim, if you could tell us kind of your memories of Nobby Stiles and just your general views of the man.
Yeah, well, Nobby came to Middlesbrough, Stan Anderson bought him. I was only young at the time, but I think we finished 4th or 5th in the league the previous year, maybe 5th or 6th, but I think Stan thought Nobby would be our missing link that would give us a push to get promotion the following year. So he bought him, made him captain, but it just didn't quite work out. I think Nobby was on his last legs at the time, and then Jack Charlton came in and Jack sold him to Preston. But I must say that Nobby was a lovely man. On the pitch he would have kicked anything, and off the pitch he would have hugged you and kissed you. He was just a lovely man.
It's great though, Jim, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because obviously he'd won the World Cup. He'd had an amazing career at Man United. So what was that like for the players in and around the Middlesbrough dressing room to have somebody like that come into their dressing room, in their world, really?
Well, we were excited when we heard that he was coming, and the Middlesbrough under Stan Anderson did very, very well, but we just couldn't get up in the top two, from two up, two down then. And we said, "Oh, Nobby's coming in, brilliant player, good character, what we needed." But the set didn't work out.
So is this? So it sounds like to me, because Brian Robson gets loads of credit for bringing all these superstars into the football club, and you know what I mean. So it went further back than that, didn't it? Because obviously with Stan bringing in World Cup winners, you know what I mean. That doesn't get any bigger than that for the football club. So they've been renowned, haven't they, to bringing in these world class players and managers, so to speak, as well.
Yeah, at that time, you know, England had won the World Cup once, as you know, in '66 when they won it, and it was 70 or 71 or 72 when we signed Nobby, so he wasn't that older than the World Cup winner. He was good influence on everybody because he was one of those type of people that everybody looked up to, but he just didn't give us that push to get promotion.
Yeah, it's fine margins, isn't it? We spoke about that before, but it's a great memories to have, and you know what I mean. And you personally, you know, I know obviously the people in the group chat, we're getting some amazing comments through, and I'm sure my dad will pop up with a few questions. He's already made his night by saying John instead of Graham Souness, because my dad's favourite ever footballer for his lifetime was John Higdon, and he's told me everything about him and more, which is just the way that I was brought up, really, which is great. We're going to do any of the business side, aren't we, just to begin with?
Yes, we are indeed.
Shall we begin with? I'd like to begin with the thing about Harry Kane, because it's annoyed me. I watched. I don't know if you've seen it, Jim. That ESPN, which is obviously the American commentary of the football games, did the Tottenham against Brighton Hove Albion game last night, and they were making fun of the way that Harry Kane speaks and talks and conducts himself during interviews. And I just thought we need to grow up a little bit. Listen, we're going through a horrible time in life. We're going through a lot of mental health issues, and people are making fun out of people, saying it's a good job he's a professional footballer and he's good at football. Well, hang on a minute. He's an educated guy, is Harry Kane. You know what I mean? He never makes mistakes. Off the pitch, he's immaculate, a family man, 2 kids, a lovely wife by the looks of it. You know, and I just think it's such a shame that people can start to poke fun at individuals. For me, look after your own, look after yourself. You know what I mean? If you're insecure about yourself, then don't start making fun of someone else. I just think it's really sad, guys. I really do, and it ruins the watching of football for me, because you never get Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville poking fun at people. You know, yes, they'll be critical, but they don't go that far. There's a line, and for me, ESPN have massively crossed that.
It's got nothing to do with his football. It's got nothing to do with his performance on the pitch. It's got nothing to do with Tottenham's performance on the pitch. And at the end of the day, well, you mentioned Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, widely regarded, I would think, as probably the top 2 pundits in the world of football, certainly in the English-speaking world. The reason they wouldn't say something like that is because they focus on the performances. And if they do talk about stuff off the field, it's to do with the running of football clubs. It's not about appearances or personal lives or, you know, whatever it may be. However, I will say Paul Pogba would probably disagree with that, because he often gets criticised for his appearance by Sky Sports pundits, but that's another story. In this particular case, it's not something which Harry Kane can help. You know, that's the way he speaks. That's it. And I agree with you, Andy, with what you said in terms of, in this day and age with mental health, when we're trying to change the world, change the way people view and treat mental health. No one knows what's going on in Harry Kane's personal life. You don't know if he's doing all right. You don't know if he's struggling or he's having, you know, a problem. Nobody knows. He could be fine, but he might not be. So I don't know. ESPN, for such a large broadcaster, they're one of the biggest broadcasters in the world. You know, they're the exclusive UFC rights holders. It's not like a independent internet company or something, or a, it's. I find it quite shocking, and I find it a bit embarrassing. I know they've apologised, which I suppose they do deserve credit for that. I guess that they've realised their mistake straight away. But yeah, it's lowbrow humour and it's not funny. So I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. Jim, what do you feel about that? Because to me, it's nothing to do with football, so it had no place in.
Well, I didn't see it, and none of us know Harry Kane, but he comes across as a good, genuine guy. So he shouldn't be made fun of. I mean, nobody should be made fun of, really, especially on air. If that's what they did, it's disgraceful. but he does come across as a good guy and articulate and doesn't make many mistakes really on air.
I totally agree, Jim. And to be fair, I think one of the comments in the group there is not to give them airtime, make a big thing of it, because some of these companies sometimes do it for publicity, and if it is a publicity stunt, it's a bang out of order publicity stunt, and yeah, I think we've made our point, haven't we? And Jonathan says it there, you know what I mean? David Beckham's had it all his life about the way he talks, the way he's looked, his family, his wife, so let's leave it there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I will just quickly say, because Rob makes a really good point. Can you imagine if the roles were reversed and the lady presenter who was involved in it, there would be uproar? I think that's football.
If it was a female footballer as well,
if
it was a female footballer as well, listen, it's 2020. You know what I mean? Let's just leave it there.
Let's be better than that.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
On a much more positive note, and I've been very critical, and haven't I, over the last couple of weeks about the fact that some football clubs are taking money from fans for season tickets to hold their seats and then charging 15 quid pay-per-view games. Newcastle have reimbursed fans season ticket money for the first 5 games? Is that right?
Firstly, though, I can't believe we're on this show just praising Newcastle, but no, they've done a great thing.
Come on.
The fans did something amazing last week with the food bank, raised loads of money from not watching the game, and they got massive praise for that, and rightly so. For me, this is just on par, if not better. Mike Ashley gets absolutely slated by fans in the press, and probably rightly so for what he's done for that football club or not done for that football club. But to give the money back for the first 5 games, and that's just a starter, by the way, is a fantastic gesture because, listen, money doesn't grow on trees. People use their hard-earned money to go and watch football games. They're struggling. The hard-working people up north, especially in Newcastle watching the games, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have bought tickets. So it'll cost Newcastle United a hell of a lot of money to reimburse all that money.
Yeah, 100%. It's not cheap.
He used to like Rob.
Yeah, well, but then Mike Ashley comes in for a lot of criticism, rightly so, rightly so. But ultimately, what we've said all along, Andy, is we like to give credit where it's due. If people deserve a bit of a criticism, then we'll give an honest opinion. Jim, are you pleased to see that Newcastle have gone down that route of reimbursing the fans? Would you also like to see more clubs go down that route?
Yeah, I mean, if you bought something in the shop and it didn't work, you took it back. And it's the same thing. These people have bought the season tickets for the year and they can't watch the match. So they should be given the money back.
I think definitely, Jimmy, the Premier League, because the Premier League's a different animal with money, and the clubs get enough money anyway from Sky Sports. I think the Championship, League One, League Two, it's so different because they've still got the high wage bills. You know what I mean? I think it is a difficult thing. So to say every football club should do it, I don't agree with. But I think Premier League is such a difficult animal for me.
How would you feel, Andy, if you paid out £400 to watch Middlesbrough this year and you'd never seen a match?
Yeah, well, I know, and then there's last year on top of it as well, isn't it? Which the fans, you know what I mean, obviously disappointingly didn't get to watch towards the end of the season. Some fans have seen one game this season if you were the lucky ones. It's difficult, and it's very difficult, especially when you see a team do that. Then you think that should every other team do it as well? That it's nice on one hand, but then on the other one, it's shall we do it? Shall we not do it? There must be those kind of conversations which are happening behind the scenes with all clubs now, because it's you know what I mean. Are the bigger clubs going to do it? Are the little clubs going to follow suit and do it to be kinder to their supporters? But it's a great gesture though. Great gesture.
Look, in my opinion, when you've got people like Ed Woodward boasting that Man United can do anything in the transfer window that no other club in the world can do, then there is absolutely no excuse for Manchester United to. I don't know if they're one of the clubs who are still collecting the season ticket money, but if they are, then there's no excuse for them not reimbursing those fans for the game. No excuse, because they have that money. Same with Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs. I know, like Spurs, for instance, are still paying for a new stadium, so they need money. But ultimately, I don't believe that any football club should be collecting season ticket money to hold a seat. That's just my opinion.
I just think, Si, how much do season ticket holders make your football club? You know, because it's income once a year. Everybody pays at one time, and they don't get anything for the rest of the season. So for me, I think the best thing they can do is reimburse now and again. You know, or I don't know. Yeah, about getting links to games for free. You know what I mean? Like, every supporter shouldn't be punished, because on top of it as well, Newcastle fans had to pay £15 to go and watch the rubbish they had to endure the week before against Leicester City. So, you know what I mean? They're getting punished twice. So it's nice that they did the right thing, the fans, did the week before. Yeah. And then now the club's reimbursing the fans with a goodwill gesture for me.
Yeah, Kelly makes a good point there, just quickly. She says she decided to buy her season ticket knowing there's a risk that she wouldn't be able to go down to watch Cardiff. However, she sees it as investing in the club, and that hopes, she'll be the club will be standing for her to eventually watch them again one day. And I think that's a fair point. Fans won't be allowed back in if the clubs don't push for it. So there's that aspect to it, I guess, as well. But when you're being asked to pay £15 extra to watch your team on top of Sky subscriptions and stuff, it's a lot of money. Andy, what was the third bit of AOB you wanted to discuss, mate?
I wanted to talk to Jim about international football, because obviously somebody who's had the career that Jim's had, and I look at this Nation League, and I look at international friendlies, and I look at the amount of games which are the expectation of the games that are played between the national players. I just want Jim's opinion on the Nation League and friendly games. Is there too many games? Should the World Cup qualifiers and European Championship games just be enough? I'd love your opinion, Jim, because I'm quite critical of the Nations League. I'm quite critical of the teams that certain countries put out for friendlies, because it's somewhat meaningless. But I'd just like your opinion, really.
I don't understand it for a start, Andy, the Nations League. I know Northern Ireland plays Slovakia in a few weeks' time, and if they beat Slovakia in Belfast, they will qualify for the final of the European, whatever it is now. But then after that, they've got qualifying matches in the World Cup or there's too many matches. You're right. It's the same as the old Champions League. Champions League now used to be the top team in each league qualified for that. Now they've got down to fourth or fifth, and they play extra games. And the only reason why they're playing it is money.
I'm glad. I'm glad you said that, because I knows, everyone in the show knows how critical I'll be of the Nations League, and for somebody of your calibre and a proud Irishman who doesn't understand. For me, I see it as meaningless. Everybody has a go at me on here because they say that you can qualify for a tournament with it. For me, it's just pointless. You know what I mean? The way you qualify for a tournament is qualifying for the World Cup or qualifying for the Euros by finishing the top two or winning the playoff games. Yeah. For me, I'd rather have Northern Ireland against Brazil as a friendly, as a big friendly, and testing the players out, instead of having a game against Slovakia, a game against Malta, a game against anybody else, which for me doesn't mean anything. And listen, they've got a new manager in Ian Barraclough, who I think he's earned his stripes. He's got a great opportunity, but does he need to be judged by a meaningless competition for me called the Nation League? For me, he's got to be judged on the World Cup or the Euros and go from there.
The managers complain about too many matches, Andy.
Yeah.
It's not the managers that make the matches, but there's too many matches. I mean, in my day, we didn't have a 2-week break for international matches. We may have played Germany on a Wednesday night. We met up on the Sunday after the match on the Saturday. Normally Northern Ireland people meet up in London if we were travelling away. Yeah. We fly out on the Monday, train on the Tuesday, play the match on the Wednesday, fly back on the Thursday, train with our clubs on the Friday, and play again the Saturday. And we never complained.
Mm. And this is for me that you hear people saying they don't want the players to go travelling away for the friendly games or for the national team. Listen, for me, just don't complain about it. You know what I mean? If you're tired, tell your manager, then you don't play the following week. But your players want to play. So if you go away and you go and play for your country, you earn a cap, which is the best feeling in the world, or you keep a clean sheet, you score a goal, then you're buzzing. You want to go and play for your club on a Saturday, and then you'll get your rest on the Sunday or the Monday, and then you've got all week to think about it. I just think, for me, there's a lot of people who do who see, you said that their Champions League and the Premier League probably is a better competition than in international football. But for me, there's nothing bigger in your football career than represent your country. It's the proudest moment in your life, and you get to play with the best players in the country, which is great.
They've got the Europa League, or whatever it's called now as well. There's extra matches in that as well.
Yeah.
If you're not good enough for the Champions League, you go into the next league down. And it used to be the winners of the old Cup Winners' Cup, wasn't it? The teams that won the cup in their respective countries played off of that. It's just a money making thing all over.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Just obviously, I will touch on Northern Ireland a little bit, Jim. Obviously, Michael O'Neill did a fabulous job, and then obviously he's dropped. Well, is he gone to a lesser job, going into full time, or is it a step up from what he was doing? What do you see? I see he's gone into a tough job, with probably a lot of expectation, but he was doing such a good job. I'd be gutted if it didn't work out for him.
He did a brilliant job for Northern Ireland. He got to the Euro finals. We had never qualified for Euro finals before, and he made us hard to beat. He took over Stoke, and I think he sees it as maybe a stepping stone to something bigger. Stoke's a big club, and they had very, very good players. They underachieved last year. He managed to keep them up, and they've started reasonably well this year. I think it's a full-time job, Andy, whereas Northern Ireland was a part-time job.
Yeah, I totally agree, and we've said it on there. You know what I mean? I think they needed the right person at that football club. They needed somebody who's got a good track record with players, who can handle big players, who can be quite tough. And to be fair, he's done a great job since he's been in there. He kept them up, and on paper, for me, they're probably the best side in the Championship on paper. They've got a really good squad. They've brought Premier League players in, so you know what I mean. I'm not surprised how well he's done to start the season as well. To be fair, I thought maybe he's done a little bit better. And what about Ian Barraclough, Jim? Just to finish off with Northern Ireland, and then how do you think he started, and how do you think he's going to do?
I don't know much about him, but it's a hard act to follow. That's the problem. When Billy Bingham took us to 2 World Cup finals in 82 and 86, whoever coming after him was going to have it very difficult, and this is the same for Barraclough. He started, I think, reasonably well, but if they beat Slovakia in a couple of weeks' time, then he would have really got his act together, and people will look up and say, well, he's doing well.
Yeah, I do like that he's been given an opportunity. You know, I remember playing against him at Notts County years and years ago. He was a very good defender, and obviously, you know what I mean, he's being given a great opportunity now. So I do hope he does well, because for me, you know, I know we laugh and we joke on here side, don't we, about each other's countries and stuff. But for me, the best tournaments are the ones where the last one where we're all in it. You know what I mean, and you know what I mean, where we're playing each other, and there's camaraderie, there's competition. But one of us then's got a better chance to progress forward and do well, and that needs to be happening for the Premier League, the EFL Championship, for British football, just to keep everybody interested.
Yeah, I mean, the international football is different now when it was when I played. We were only 16 of the squad. Now they're 24, whatever, you know. And when we went to the 1982 World Cup, we had to take, I think it was 5 Irish league players with us to make up the 22. Now you've got players mostly coming in.
Yeah. Which is crazy, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, you don't think, do you? You know what I mean? It's a crazy world now.
Well, I think going back a few years, like Wales used to predominantly pick their international team from League One and the lower part of the Championship, with then like 1 or 2 in the Premier League. You know, they're sort of top players. Obviously, that's changed now over the years, and I think the improvement in the Championship has kind of correlated with that as well. Like you discussed, Andy, earlier in the season about it basically being like Premier League 2, and I think that has improved the whole nation international sides. Whether it's Northern Ireland, it's Scotland, Wales, I think the smaller nations have benefited from the improvement in quality of the English Football League system, if that makes sense.
I totally agree. But I think as I say, Jim obviously watches a host of Championship games, obviously with doing the job that he does at Middleton Football Club, sees every home game, and obviously then goes to do some away games as well. That the standard of the Championship is so high at the minute, you know, with some of the players that half of those players what are playing in the Championship at the minute, they've either played in the Premier League before or probably would have been playing in the Premier League 5, 6, 7 years ago, and it's a shame for some of them that they're not playing at the top, the highest level which they can. But for me, I see it as a Premier League 2, and I see it as a really good level. And And people are making a very good living out of playing in the second division, basically in English football, which is amazing. But you know what I mean? The wage bills, the attendances, obviously when crowds can be there, the size of the football clubs, some of the sides in the Championship. We spoke about a side, didn't we, on the Championship show? Some of them have won the European Cup. You know what I mean? This is just ridiculous. You know that Nottingham Forest. You know what I mean? Norwich City win the Champions League. It's ridiculous.
Look in League One, mate. Portsmouth, FA Cup winners, Sunderland. There's numerous clubs in it, all the way down. It's unbelievable. Look, we've already had loads of questions, so we're just going to kind of skip through a couple quickly so they don't get too stacked up. I got a question. That don't happen very often. James Costley says, Si, what do you think? Harris in or Harris out? Well, I was never Harris in, so that'll tell you everything that you need to know. Look, I made it clear I didn't think he was the right choice. I still don't think he's the right choice. However, I back him and I want him to win and I want him to do well. But he's got to make his formation and tactics suit the players that he's got at the football club, not what he envisages as football. And also, he needs to start looking to win games instead of setting up to not to lose. But we'll talk about that more on Friday. Just quickly, Andy, are you Harris in or Harris out?
I'm harassed that you cannot give a team a 2-goal lead, because this is becoming a regular occurrence. It happened on his first game in charge, and it's still happening now on his last game in charge. So, listen, no team has got the divine right to turn up and win a football game. If you give an average side a 2-0 head start or a good side a 2-0 head start, you're never going to win the game. No team is going to score 3 goals week in, week out to win a football match, and Cardiff are no different. You know what I mean? Cardiff don't score enough goals, so they're never going to score and win a game. If you know what I mean, I look at the game against QPR when it went to 1-0. I thought, here we go. When it went to 2-0, I thought they're going to get beat 5 again, because that's just the way they do it at QPR. But listen, you can't afford. I'm an ex-teammate of Neil's, and I like him as a man. I think he's getting his team selections all wrong. But only he can turn this round. And if he turns it around and decides something quickly, you know what I mean? He needs to stop with the formation and go 4-4-2 or stick 2 people up front. That's what he needs to do, in my opinion. Yeah. But I'm not a manager, and that's why he's paid to do the job which I talk about.
Yeah, and we'll go into it in detail on Friday. Absolutely. A few people have asked about Bobby Charlton, and including your dad, Andy, has asked about Bobby Charlton and Rob Boyle, and there was a couple of other guys asking about the links to dementia and football. Is it time, do you think, that football, I know there has been investigations, but is it time we use some of this Premier League big money to really delve into this subject? And, what can we do about the connection between football and Alzheimer's and dementia? Jim, we'll start with you for that one, mate. Have you got, do you think it's time we start using this big money for that sort of thing?
Yeah, this comes up every time somebody dies of dementia, and it should be brought up before they die. I mean, Nobby had dementia for quite a few years. I don't know whether everybody knows that. But he had been in the home for quite a few years, and he wasn't in a good way. I think actually Bobby Charlton was had it for a while, although it's only just come out now. Jack Charlton had it for a while, and Jack died recently. So I think we need to look after these people long before they pass away, because there's no point in talking about it and looking after them after they died.
I totally agree. It was John Harton, wasn't it? John Harton famously came out and did say, obviously the links with things and the links with illness about heading the ball, etc., and did try and get something going, but it never really took off, and which baffles me really. Like Jim just said there about people, you know what I mean, and it annoys me that people become famous when they die, but why? You know what I mean? They're extremely famous all of the time. You know what I mean? And that's Bobby Ball, that's Nobby Styles, that's everybody. You know what I mean? Why does it take somebody to die before we start talking and saying the good things about them, what they did and what they've achieved and things and the illnesses they've got? And it's not a swear word to start talking about these illnesses and start talking about mental health and start talking about things that we all want to talk about, but we wait until it's too late to start talking about it, and it's so sad. You know what I mean? Because the only way to help people is by being proactive and doing it. And I severely hope that we can that we can help. And if football money, which is massive, by the way, you know what I mean? I know we've just probably contradicting ourselves saying that we need to put money in, but clubs are giving money back. But for me, once football is back to normal and fans are back in and the clubs can generate a little bit more money, can the clubs support their local area with these kind of things? I hope so.
Yeah, they should do. These foundations that are set up within the clubs, every club's got a foundation which they use for the soccer camps and the kids and there's a lot of money in football clubs which is distributed to various projects. I'm not obviously it's not saying take the money away from kids football, but what I mean is how important are all those projects? I'm sure that bigger clubs can cut back if they need to cut back rather than spend money they've got to investigate this and try and get a better conclusion than what we're currently getting. And like a few people have said, it is obviously it's a horrendous disease which is not just painful for the people who get it, but also the families of the people and the friends of the people. It's brutal. Okay, what else have we got? There's loads of questions. Where was the other one? There was one really good one from your dad, Andy. I'm just trying to find it. Oh yeah, Jim, who was your favourite manager that you played for at Middlesbrough?
Well, first of all, it was Stan Anderson because he brought me and gave me my chance to play, and then it was Jack. Jack was the best manager I played under. Stan bought all of the players, and Jack took over a good team and made it into a great team. He got Bobby Murdoch on a free transfer, and he was a missing link. We murdered the second division under Jack. We did well in the first division the first year. But yeah, Stan and Jack. I mean, Stan was a good manager. He just didn't get the promotion that we wanted. Jack took over, as I said, it was Stan's team. Stan bought me, bought John Hickton, he bought John Craggs, bought Graham Souness. There's a couple more. So the Stan's team, but Jack took over and made us a great team. Jack
what was so special about him, Jim? You know what I mean? Because everybody sees what he did, obviously with Republic of Ireland, but you know what I mean. He obviously learned and earned his stripes at club level before he grew that successful. What was so special about him?
Well, Jack's it was his first managerial job with us, and we were looking forward to him because cup winner, World Cup winner, his first job. He came in, we went to Scotland and played a couple of maybe 2 or 3 matches, and we won them. And then the first match of the season, we went to Portsmouth and won 1-0. It was a hard match because Portsmouth had spent a lot of money that year. And then we lost our first home match against Fulham. And we saw the real Jack then because he came in and did his knocks after the match. And we had a bit of an argument, not me, but all the players had a bit of an argument with him. And he said, "You're doing my effing way or you won't do it at all." And we went 23 games on the field after that. And we finished up where we lost 4 games all season and we won the league quite easy. We had a good team, but he was a good player.
So you just broke up a little bit there, Jim. Another question we had from a couple of people was, what was George Best like as a person? Do you have any personal stories that you could share about him?
Not on air, I don't think, but off the pitch, George was a lovely bloke. He was quiet. If he went away anywhere, he was always recognisable because of his long hair and his looks and that. And everybody used to fly over to him and ask him for his autograph. And he used to sign them all, said nothing. When we went away, he would sit in the corner. He wouldn't make himself known. A very quiet person and a lovely man. I won't say too much about his lifestyle, but we all liked him being about us because we knew he was that sort of player. He just had an aura about him. I remember he played against England one time after England won the World Cup, actually, at Windsor Park. And England put a fellow called Peter Storey, who played for Arsenal, put him on to mark him. and Peter Story went everywhere with them trying to kick him. At one time, George stopped the ball, someone near the halfway line, put his foot in the ball, and said to Peter Story, come and get it. To Peter Story's credit, he didn't dive in, because if they dived in, George would have taken it around him, and the crowd loved that.
What you said there, Jim, about George being a quiet person, you know what I mean? That's great insight for me, because from an outside looking in, someone who's never met the bloke, and somebody who would make a judgment on him he'd be loud, he'd be eccentric, he would be in your face a little bit. So you know what I mean? I think some people get a bad reputation from rumours, from stories, from other people who don't know him, and I think it's always nice to come across people who genuinely know somebody and has had a relationship with them, so you can get the truth on how they are as a person.
Yeah, he was quiet. When we went away, he would stay in the corner out of the way. He wouldn't get involved with anything. And the girls went to him. He didn't have to go to the girls.
Well, we've all had that problem, I'm sure. But,
but a fantastic player. If you see clips of him on the pitches that we played on the pitches that they play on now, I mean, he was just gliding past people, and the people were trying to kick him. You could kick people in those days, and you'd be unlucky to get booked. Now, if you look at somebody, you get booked. He had to put up with all that. Fantastic player.
Yeah, just what you said there, Jim, about pitches and things. Is there an excuse in 2020 to play badly with the facilities they have, the training pitches, the pitches, everything's given to them? You know what I mean? They have everything's brought to them. For me, when I see people playing badly, or when I see people who look like they're not running around and trying, and I just find it so disrespectful, because being a footballer is such a privileged position. You know what I mean? People would give their left leg to play football and play for their football club or their hometown club. To see the facilities what people are playing in now, does that make you envious at all for what you had to play under?
No, the only time we had a good pitch was in August, when it was a new pitch. And probably for about a month it was good. And then it got muddy down the middle. And from a goalkeeper's point of view, it was very awkward. Worst in the springtime, because it was muddy and it was hard, and the ball wouldn't bounce correctly. And we had our bare hands in those days. We didn't have gloves, so sometimes the ball would bounce awkwardly, and we'd get a finger pop out or something, you know. I remember dislocated 2 fingers at Queen's Rangers one day. Sure, my fingers popped out. The trainer come on, put them back into place, shut them up, and I played on. You had to, because there was no sub-goalkeeper in those days.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? I don't think footballers do get credit and credit where it's due. You know what I mean? When I listen to players saying that they're not 100%, they don't know if they're going to play. You know what I mean? I don't think I ever went into a game 100% fit or felt great every time I wanted to play. It was just, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just excuse. You just want players just to get ready to shake and just understand how privileged and lucky they are to be involved at the level that they're playing at sometimes.
I don't think you couldn't play every game 100% fit, Andy. There's probably some games you were 90% fit. But I think in our day you wanted to play. You didn't want to be left out of the team, because if you were left out of the team, you had to go back up again. There wasn't big squads in our day, but everybody wanted to play. I mean, we didn't mind playing 2 or 3 matches a week. Now, when some of the players play 2 or 3 matches a week, we're playing too much football. So, and they weren't playing with the muddy pitches from the heavier balls that we were playing with.
Yeah. Which is obviously a great insight, Si, isn't it? It's
yeah, there's a massive difference between those balls as well. Well, you just took the words off your mouth there, wasn't there? But like, funny enough, with just very quickly going back to the discussion we were having about dementia and Alzheimer's. Obviously, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the balls used were so heavy. I think that the scientists and the people who've investigated have kind of indicated that those heavy balls have had a lot to do with people having issues later in life. Obviously, the balls now, that some of them are like flyaway balls. They're so light. How heavy were those balls, Jim? Sort of back in when you were playing.
sometimes I hoped that they were heavy because they couldn't kick it as hard
Yeah.
coming at me. They were even heavier when I first started off as a youngster because they used to have a lace in them. You two boys wouldn't remember that, but they were laced them up. They were real leather balls with a bladder in the inside of it. They're very light now, but it goes faster now. We don't say boxers must get dementia because they get hit in the head all the time. Rugby players obviously get a lot of head injuries, so it's not just footballers.
Yeah.
No.
I do totally agree. I just think we can do a little bit more for sportsmen because I think more than most. You mentioned boxing there, obviously martial arts as well. That people are putting their life on the line every time they go over that white line or in that ring or in the cage or whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? Because they're doing it for themselves, yes, but they're doing it for the people as well and other people's joy and other people's just to be a showpiece. And I think sometimes that we take it all for granted and just think it's all okay, and it's not sometimes. I think we need to look after each other and sport just as much because. You know what I mean? Like we go on about when people get ill or worse, that then people start talking about them and then start thinking about the things that we can put in place.
Yeah.
It's too late then.
Yeah, let's do it before. This is an interesting question on a completely different subject. Craig asked our opinion on rumours that the Euros are now going to be played over one country and in Russia next year.
Is that the rumour?
That's the rumours, yeah.
Is it?
Obviously, with all the restrictions, it makes sense that they're not going to spread it around like they were going to initially.
It makes sense it being in Russia because they're allowing supporters back in. I watched Chelsea played there on Wednesday night, and I watched the game there with supporters in, which was great, by the way. It was a good atmosphere. Chelsea played Krasnodar, beat them 4-0. There was, I think, half the stadium was full. It was a really good atmosphere, different than what I've been used to. So listen, Si, if it means that we can get some kind of atmosphere back in a competitive game, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? I think the issue is people won't be able to travel. You know what I mean? So we're not going to be able to get people from England and Wales and Ireland to go over and watch the countries. So I'm not sure if it would be better, but I'm all for games playing in front of a crowd.
Yeah, fans are
I
massive.
think it should be in one country. I don't think they should be travelling about. I think any final should be in one country. Same way as I don't agree with the semi-finals of the FA Cup being at Wembley. I think Wembley should be for the final and final only. Because I was fortunate enough to play, I'm not in the FA Cup final, but I was fortunate enough to play at Wembley for Northern Ireland on 3 different occasions, and Wembley still has an aura about it. And to take the semi-finals to Wembley is, to me, is devalued, and people should be looking forward to playing the final at Wembley. It should be a fantastic day. I wasn't there. My team wasn't good enough to get there. I was good enough, but my team wasn't good enough to get to the FA Cup final, which I would have loved.
I totally agree. I mean, Si knows my feelings on the FA Cup. I'm a massive advocate of the FA Cup. I say my first childhood memories are watching the FA Cup final day and watching every goal and watching the players come into the game. And it was, you know what I mean, back then it was the semi-finals were normally at Hillsborough, Villa Park, Main Road, you know. So for me, that's how it should be, you know. The special thing, people don't mind losing a semi-final now because you've already played at Wembley, and that shouldn't be the case. You should be devastated that you've not won because you're not getting to play at Wembley, where people are happy to play at Wembley, and Wembley gets overused now. It's not a privilege anymore.
Is a suggestion. Obviously, when Wembley was being built, they moved everything to the Millennium Stadium, which went beautifully. It was really good, great stadium. Why do they not play the semi-finals at the Millennium Stadium? So it's still a neutral ground, which is a magnificent stadium, and then you've still got Wembley as the home of English football to be where the finals will take place, and I think it makes it special.
You've got so many good stadiums in England now. Andy mentioned Hillsborough and that. They were big, and Astonville were big stadiums. And in our day, held 50 or 60,000. But you've got Tottenham now, Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool. They're all fantastic. Even Newcastle, all fantastic stadiums. Yeah. Obviously, it depends on we qualified with 2 London teams. We probably would play Spurs, unless Spurs are one of the teams.
But that's what we should do, Jim. That's what we should do, though. We shouldn't pick the grounds until, obviously, say the games are going to be at neutral ground. So if it's Tottenham against Arsenal, we play at Chelsea, or we play somewhere else, or we play at West Ham. You know what I mean? Play at a stadium which can hold both supporters, but play it local. You know what I mean? If it's Man United against Man City, we play at Leeds or Liverpool. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? Let's not exactly. That's the Craig's bang on there. You know what I mean? We're still paying for Wembley, so the fans and the clubs are paying out for England and paying out for Wembley and paying out because we overshelled and we overspent on a ground which didn't need that much money spending on it. By the way, yes, it took over the old stadium. You know what I mean? So the amount of money which it's going to generate, which will be massive, it'll be great, but it's costing far too much. And we're overusing it for me. It shouldn't be used for what it is, in my opinion.
Andy, someone asked, I'm just looking for the comment, would you get an I Love the Nations League tattoo for charity? I can't remember. I'm trying to find who said it.
Yeah, on my backside. That's where it needs to go. Yeah. Well, no.
For charity.
I don't like pain. I'm not a big fan of pain. If you could guarantee me no pain, and it was small, I don't want to upset anybody, and I don't want to show it. To have to show it as well.
Well, yeah, you'd have to prove it, wouldn't you, to be able to collect the charity money. So it all becomes a bit problematic. Just get an A.C.E Podcast Nation one instead.
I'm getting nervous. The last time when you started something out for charity, me and Danny Batt nearly had a fight.
Right. Well, I tried to make it happen, but people just
scared me to death.
But you backed out.
You're right.
But yeah. Oh, right. Sorry about that. My legs going right. Let me see. Just see if there's any more questions quickly, and then if not, we'll move on. It's Mr. Stuart Campbell. What a gentleman! He says, "What does qualification for a major tournament mean to the Northern Irish people?"
Qualification for the major tournament.
Yeah.
We don't get many qualifications. So, and you know, there's about 5 times more people in London than there is in the whole of Northern Ireland. So for us to reach a major final is a fantastic achievement. And Billy Bingham took us to Spain in '82. It's funny, we didn't expect to get there, and we had to organise things at the last minute. And then he took us to Mexico, and we were a bit more organised then because we had already done it 4 years previously. But for the country as a whole, a fantastic, it sets the whole country alive.
You said there though, Jim, about you weren't prepared for the '82 World Cup, but you were a little bit more prepared for the '86 World Cup. Which one was better then? Which one was better in your opinion out of the two? So which one was more fun? Which one was better?
I'll tell you the difference in preparation. Before '82, we trained in Brighton, at Brighton University.
Okay.
Before '86, in Mexico, we trained in Albuquerque.
It's a small difference. It's a tiny difference.
Albuquerque was high altitude because Mexico was high altitude.
Yeah.
Albuquerque. But Brighton, Billy Bingham said it's as far as south as we could get, and the weather was better down south, and we 2 weeks training in Brighton before we flew out to Valencia. But no, '82 was the best because we qualified for the next stage in '82.
Which is absolutely great, though, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic. So, did you feel as a group of players? Did you feel individually? Did you feel under pressure the second time around more than the first because you'd been there, you'd done it, and there was more expectation from the nation?
No. When we were in Spain, I remember sitting around the pub. We were allowed 1 hour sunbathing a day, by the way, and we're sitting around the pub, sitting with Sonny McElroy, and we were due to play Spain the following evening, and we've been away 2 weeks in Brighton and 2 weeks in Spain, and we were getting a bit bored. And I said to Sonny, well, in 2 days' time we'll be home, so we'll be okay. And then we'll go and beat Spain, which we didn't expect to beat Spain. They haven't been beating Valencia for so many years, and then with another week away. Spain was good, and we were the same bunch of players, half the same from Mexico, but we were coming to the end of our careers. And Spain was magnificent for us.
It's those kind of experiences for me, though, Jim. You know that I'm fascinated by this because obviously the World Cups, especially the '86 World Cup, was something that obviously I remember from the Gary Lineker and the Diego Maradona, obviously, and the just the being around it, watching it from afar. But being involved in a World Cup is that the pinnacle of any young person's career, dreaming coming through the dream of being a footballer?
Yeah, it's funny. In Mexico, back to Mexico, Scotland come back in the same plane as us. The Scotland directors were at the front of the plane, which was first class. Our directors were behind them. The Scotland players were behind them, and we were at the back in the cheap seats.
That's class. That's quality. That's quality. And to be fair, Scotland should have been underneath. To be fair, so and I'll give them that's terrible. Do you know what? It's little things like that, though, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because you think nowadays, it's teams will charter their own flights. You know what I mean? There'll be nobody on them. You know what I mean? And I'm going back probably when I played and we went away with the 21s that we would have some of the press on our flight. You know what I mean? Now that won't happen. I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm just guessing that now. But they used to. You know what I mean? We used to have a good relationship with probably 4 or 5 of the major newspapers at the time, and it was interviews on the plane on the way back because that's where you got your most time or your best time to sit down and talk about what you're doing or what you've just done. It's difficult to do it anywhere else. But now your players, and I'm on about Champions League teams, I'm on about national teams. They have their own planes to take them here, there, and everywhere around the world, and it's so different. And the distance between probably the directors and the football associations and the players it's miles apart than it used to be, and that's probably why when Jim mentioned earlier on about football back then is better than football now, and football when I played was better than it is now, because I see it now as a business. I see now there's no link between players and fans, and it's such a shame because, you know what I mean, you're only a footballer for a length of time, and Jim will tell you that when Jim hosts his lounges and when he invites guests in, the fun you can have with supporters because you're a real person and they relate to you because you're a real person. I don't see footballers now as real people. Footballers now are the superstars, or you know what I mean. They're so hard to get to because of social media, and they're scared to let themselves go in case there's a story about them or something. And it's such a shame. I find it a real shame.
And there's so many millionaires now.
Yeah.
I must tell you a story. Sorry, it's not an international story, but when I played, there were different countries. There's so many. Russia has broken up now. I played against East Germany and West Germany. Going across into East Germany, we flew into Berlin, walked across Checkpoint Charlie with our cases, on the bus at the other side, and played the match, and then come back again because you weren't allowed to fly into East Germany from outside.
Right. Okay. That's another thing that you don't think of, do you? You know, I mean, obviously the Berlin Wall and obviously the difference. So, what was the difference between the two German sides back then? No, Jim, it was obviously West Germany were obviously strong. You know what I mean? Were East Germany just as strong, or was there a gulfing difference?
Each of them had 6 players, and they were built like there wasn't much difference between them. I mean, they were Germans, whether they were coming from East or West. They were Germans, and they were both very hard to beat. The Germans are always hard to beat, no matter what competition they're in.
Yeah, which is they don't get any easier, do they? You know what I mean? And I think, you know what I mean, the standard of the players, you know what I mean, from the 70s, 80s, 90s, even now, you know what I mean, they're probably technically better than they were back then, but before they were built strong, they were physical, but they could play as well. And I think sometimes we didn't give them enough credit because of how they looked and how they were built sometimes.
Spot on. Here's a phenomenal question, Andy. You mentioned Scotland just a while ago. Mr. Stuart Campbell is on fire.
Don't say this, by the way. He's got a big head.
He said, "Is the Premier League?"
Sorry, Si. Before you answer this question, can you tell him, because I've had a go at him, by the way, today. He needs to join in like this every week. He can't just perk up when one of his favourite players is on. He can't just do this once in a blue moon. It's just
He's got to do it all the time. He always messages me. We have back and forth. Meet up for coffee.
I'm glad he doesn't with me.
He said, "Is the Premier League responsible for the decline of Scotland and Northern Ireland?" Jim, you go first with that one.
Well, obviously, the influx of the foreign players has affected the national teams. When I played, every team in England, every good team in England had a good Scottish player. You're talking about Dennis Law, Dalglish, Billy Bremner, you can go on and on. Every team had a good Scottish player, and Scotland were a good team then, but
great side.
then, you couldn't name me sort of half a dozen good Scottish players in the Premiership now. Yes, the influx of the foreign players, I mean, I honestly think they should cap the influx of foreign players. You only allowed so many in each team. It won't happen because money dictates everything. I think it's been good for the game, the foreign players, but I think there's too many of them. And going back to the Scotland thing, I mean, Northern Ireland will always be okay. Scotland should qualify. We used to qualify all the World Cups, but recently they haven't, and they have struggled.
Well, when I went to play in Scotland, Jim, they had the new rule came in when I went to play there. And I went there. I think I went there about 2005. About 2005, and they had their rule was that 6 homegrown players had to be in the matchday squad. Of those 6 players, 2 of them had to start the game or be on the pitch at one point. So if you started one and you brought him off, you had to replace him like for like with somebody. So it brought through your Sean Maloney's at the time for Celtic. Rangers had obviously an influx of young players at the time, Scott Wilson, Alan McGregor, etc. So it brought through all these good young Scottish players, and for me, I think sometimes you need to do that, and you need to do something drastic in order to bring players through, because Scotland were having a lot of foreign players coming through. If that was Englishmen, if it was people from overseas, England haven't really trialled it because the football's that successful. There's that many teams, there's that many leagues for players to go and get a platform and play. I just think we need to find a way to continue and have this continuation of having young players who are playing regular football, because England have been successful under 19 level, under 21 level, under 16 level. I think in the last 2 years. But
same in Wales as well.
But where do those players go and play their platform? Where do they play their football unless they're given a chance to play? The loan system's great. You know what I mean? You'll use Harry Wilson, for example. You know, one of the best young players to come out of Welsh football. He's played for a Premier League side. He's now signed for Cardiff City. So he's playing his platform now. He's excellent. But there's players who aren't getting the minutes and the games, which in order are going to push them onto another level, and it's disastrous.
Do you know? I think you mentioned when you were playing, Ant, about the rule whether you had to have, I think it was 3 or 4 homegrown players. I think one of the reasons why the big clubs turned against that rule, so I'll use United as an example, was that they were classing Ryan Giggs as a foreign player, but he had come through their system. So you had the Welsh players and the Scottish players for some of the Premier League teams, they'd be classed as their foreign players. They wouldn't count in the homegrown quota. So I think if you can bring in, I think that rule had the right makings. It just wasn't done very well. I think ultimately UK born, or like not even born necessarily, but players who've come through UK club systems should count as homegrown players, and you should have to have X amount in your matchday squad. And I think
I agree.
Not your 25-man squad at the start of the season. I think it's got to be in the matchday squad.
I agree. The thing is, listen, and that's the thing for me. Teams will just fill up this 25-man squad of players and not play them.
They never use.
You know what I mean? Like that. My problem with what you just said there is to come through the system that Manchester City could sign a lad at 10-year-old from Barcelona. He could go to school in England. You know what I mean? And then he could be classed as a local player, and then John from down the road is not getting an opportunity to be a professional footballer because someone else has took his place, and this is where it becomes a bit of a mess and a grey area for me. And listen, I'm not against it, but I just think it's stopping progression from other talent in the area and players. But there's a platform for everyone to play, by the way. So that player could go and sign for Oldham Athletic. He could go and sign for Middlesbrough. He could go and sign for Cardiff City. So there's rules for everybody.
I'm sure that those clubs would argue that, yes, they might go and sign players, young kids from Spain, Italy, wherever, the best players of their age group in Europe. But also, if there is a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old in Manchester or Liverpool or whatever who is as good, they'll also pick him up as well. Like, I don't think I think that would be their argument, is that yes, they'll look for the best players, but they'll look for the best players everywhere, and then they still bring them through the system, but ultimately that doesn't help the UK-based national teams improve, does it? James asked, who was Jim's idol growing up, and which football team did he support?
My idol was a gentleman called Jimmy McElroy. He played for Burnley, and then he went to Stoke, so I supported Burnley, and then I supported Stoke. Everybody else in Northern Ireland supports Man United or Liverpool or Celtic or Rangers. But Jimmy McElroy was an inside forward, and he was my hero. As a goalkeeping hero, there's a gentleman called Harry Gregg who sadly passed away this year, I think it was, or the end of last year. He played for Northern Ireland and Manchester United. So those two would have been my heroes.
So obviously you didn't go down the fashion route then, did you, Jim? Obviously being I'm guessing Burnley and Stoke played better football back then than they do now, because obviously they haven't got a good reputation at the minute, have they, those kind of two football clubs, with the style of football, with the kind of managers. Well, Michael O'Neill maybe is different now than obviously Tony Pulis when obviously he was at Stoke, etc. But how do those two teams compare now than they did back when you supported them?
Well, you see, there wasn't that much football on TV back when I was young. There was only probably one or two matches a week, so you didn't really get seeing your hero. Burnley were a big club when I was growing up. They were a first division club. Stoke were a first division club as well, because Stoke signed Gordon Banks in his later years. But you never seen them very often, Andy, because they weren't on TV very often. You only seen them probably once, twice, three or four times a season maximum.
Which probably wouldn't be a bad thing, to be honest. Some of the games that we've had to endure, being a Middlesbrough fan, being a Cardiff fan, you know what I mean? Sometimes you'd rather those games not be on TV at the minute with some of the performances. But being a Middlesbrough fan at the minute is quite not a bad thing. So I'm not gonna ruin the good feeling we've got at the minute. But no, it's football's evolved so much, hasn't it? You know what I mean? Me and Si were on about it on Friday, that the amount of football that you can watch on a daily basis. You know what I mean? There's a game on every once the game finishes, there's another game starts straight away, and you know, it puts players into a different light, Jim, doesn't it? It puts players into a superstardom straight away, and that's young players. That's even lads in the EFL Championship, even lads in League One. You know what I mean? Every footballer, I think, who pulls the boots on a Saturday afternoon at 3:00 is well known because of the amount of games. Gillette Soccer Saturday, Jeff Stelling makes people famous by saying people's names and knowing people's reputation and things. And listen, it's all a good thing, but that also comes with pressure, and that also comes with expectation. And I think sometimes that it's going to be so interesting when fans come back, because if there's certain players who've impressed me during lockdown in the last 6 months, are they going to be able to handle the pressure of playing in front of a crowd? Because I don't know about you, Jim, but I couldn't imagine playing in front of nobody. You know what I mean? It reminded me so much of playing in the Pontins League, in the reserve game, and I would have hated it, I'll be honest. I used to thrive and enjoy playing in front of fans.
Well, we both would have played practice matches, Andy, in front of no crowds. We would have played in reserve matches. There was reserves in my day, and there was maybe 50 people at it. It's dreadful. Without the fans, football is nothing. I mean, I remember we played Portugal, and I played against them at the old Stadium of Light in Lisbon, and there were 90,000 people at the match. Played at Wembley, it wasn't full when Northern Ireland played. It was probably 50 or 60,000 people, 50,000 people at Old Trafford. That's what you want to do. You want to play in front of fans. It must be terrible for the players now going onto the pitch and there's nobody in the stands.
Yeah, no, well, we've said it, Si, haven't we? We've said,
It's
you know, that we spoke very highly of certain players, and we're big. Personally, I'm a big fan of Greenwood at United, but you know what I mean. I can only judge somebody like him, for example, when I've seen him for 10 games in front of supporters, because we know how fickle football supporters can be, and if you're not having a very good time, you miss a chance. Supporters are on your back. You've made a mistake, high-profile mistake like he has. He's got to take that with a burden of fans being on his back during the game, and it's so different with fans being there. And I hope they come back soon, because I can't get my head around the fake crowd noises. Still, I'm starting to get fed up with it all now.
Yeah, I don't like them.
standing in goal when in the old days you go to somewhere like Millwall, which is the most horrible place to go to. The old den back in the year. The fans just to throw things at you, you hit you in the back of the legs, and you just played on, and you never thought you were.
Jim, the new den's not much better, by the way. I tell you, I've no, somebody asked me. It was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Simon. Somebody asked me
recently,
the worst place I've played, and it was up there. I'll be honest. I'll tell you the story. I was sub playing for Cardiff. There was a Tuesday night game, and I was warming up, and some of the abuse I was getting. Oh my lord! I was getting me wife, me kids. So I had to go and sit back down because I was scared what they were going to say to me. Or I was constantly turning around just in case somebody was stood next to me, and it frightened the life out of me. I'll be honest; it really scared me. And this is supposed to be a safe environment, a football game. Listen, I've seen some trouble during games during my time at Middlesbrough, my time at Cardiff, but that scared the absolute living daylights out of me. And I was so glad when the final whistle went, and I was quite pleased I didn't get on as well for the only time in my career.
Jim, a few people have asked, who was the hardest centre forward that you ever faced?
That's a difficult one. I think Joe Jordan was quite difficult because if the ball was coming in from across, you'd have to have one eye on Joe and one eye on the ball. And hopefully I was able to catch a ball like Joe whacking me one.
It was tough though, Jim, money, because I was at Sheffield United as a young lad on loan from Middlesbrough, and Joe was one of Steve Bruce's coaches, and we did a little bit of training, and obviously being one of the coaches, and oh man, some of the things he was trying to teach you and educate you is be that horrible and be that evil, and me being a scrawny 17, 18-year-old skinny kid, you know what I mean? I couldn't replicate what he wanted me to do.
No. You weren't big enough, Andy.
No, he was hard as nails though. He scared the life out of me, to be fair. He was difficult. I'll go one different to that question then, Jim. I'll go who was the best player to ever score past Jim Platt?
Oh,
that's a question.
Played against Man United. Funny enough, we were talking about Nobby earlier on, and when Nobby came to us, we drew Man United in the English FA Cup. John at Man United and Nobby led the team out, and we drew nil each. And the replay at Aston Park. It's a funny one because we played in an afternoon. It was a time when we had strikes and the floodlights could go out, so we couldn't play in the floodlights, so I had to play in the afternoon. And they beat us 3-0. Bobby Charlton and Bessie both scored in that match. William Morgan got penalty to beat 3-0. So I would have to say Bobby Charlton and George Best.
Who was the best player then not to score past Jim Platt?
What was that, Andy?
Who was the best player not to score? So who was the best player that you kept out who was never got to score past you?
Well, I said 3 different penalties at Anfield.
What, the same game?
No.
That's impressive on its own, but even still, three different games.
And I said one at Old Trafford. The Anfield, Liverpool is the best place stadium I've played under. The fans are brilliant there. They're very appreciative, and it's just a pleasure to play there. We were playing them in the League Cup, and it was nil each with 10 minutes to go, and that year Liverpool were getting all the penalties. Now Man United are getting all the penalties. They got a penalty with 10 minutes to go down at the cup end, and a fellow called Alec Lindsay, you probably wouldn't remember him, the Scottish international, he whacked it and I saved it, and we went up and scored. We were shouting for the referee to blow the whistle because a nil each draw was a good result for us, and Willie Madden went forward and scored in the last minute, and we won 1-0.
Quality. You just said something interesting there, side. Jim said that Man United and Liverpool both got quite a lot of penalties. It's funny that because I watched the game on Saturday, which I seen another game where they got another penalty, by the way, which I don't believe is a penalty, and they're still going on about today.
Someone tweeted me about that the other day. Like, I try to avoid Liverpool games these days, but someone tweeted me and said about Liverpool winning by a dodgy penalty again. You know?
It's the word inside of 5 side for me. The word contact, you know what I mean? So if there's contact, it's a penalty. It's not a load of rubbish, that is. It's got to be a
foul. It's a penalty.
It's got to be a foul.
It's not contact.
Contact. There's contact all over the place.
The handballs are farces as well. And in my day, you had to put your hand out and actually hit the ball. Now if it hits you in the hand, it's a penalty, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, Jim, I'd love to see to listen to your opinion on seeing defenders defending with the hands behind your back as well, because that's been annoying me for years, to be honest. And as a goalkeeper, how would you deal with that as a goalkeeper?
It's serious. I mean, apart from chopping your arms off, if the centre forward and the front players are so clever now, they could take it into the box and flick it under your hand and get a penalty.
Well, this has been my point, Jim. That I said that the likes of Messi, for example, who get somebody in the box, he's clever enough and intelligent enough just to flick the ball up and be able to hit somebody's hand, which then would have been a penalty, which is just ludicrous.
I mean, the one that strikes me the most was the one that Newcastle got where Andy Carroll went up the header. I can't remember. They played on and they had to come back. It was a penalty. Andy Carroll was the only one that claimed for a penalty in that time. And it did hit it was Eric Dyer, it was against Tottenham.
Yeah, Tottenham, yeah.
Back turned and a him and the hand, and they gave a penalty. That was ridiculous. And to say, if you look at the clip again, Andy Carroll was the only one that paid for a penalty because he headed it.
I totally agree.
That's incredible.
I totally agree.
Donna Perry asked, did you learn a lot from Pat Jennings, and was it frustrating for you that he kept on playing for so long, which ultimately minimised your international caps?
Yeah,
good question.
He played 100 odd times, I only played 23 times, and I was in the squad about 50 times, and it was frustrating, but I always enjoyed playing for my country, and I think a lot of people don't enjoy or don't give their all playing for their countries, and it was a proud moment for me when I played for my country. And I got to say I've got 23 caps. Some people haven't got any, so I'm happy.
And I think that's the way it should be, though, isn't it, Side? You know,
yeah.
the way obviously, Side's a proud Welshman. I'm a proud Englishman. You know that it's just having that passionate root and just wanting to see your country achieve, and that's as an individual, that's as a football fan, as a player. There was no proud moments that, you know what I mean. Every time the England under 21 squad was getting selected, I was devastated when I didn't get picked. I was over the moon when I did, and it was just it was a pinnacle of my career. You know what I mean. Forget about the Champions League. You know what I mean, because for me the biggest moment in my life is having to wear the three lines and getting presented them England caps, and it was just something that it just blew me away. You know what I mean? That you see international players across the world getting this gold cap because they've got 50 caps, 100 caps, whatever, and it's just it just makes you so envious, and so I'm proud for them than anything else. It's absolutely great.
Yeah,
couldn't have said it better myself. Let's have a look. What else we got? Cage Childs asked, Jim, which striker did you hate to play against who would score against you a lot?
Quite a few for me. Quite a few scored against me.
You always get them players, those, Jim, don't you? Or the games or the teams where you just don't enjoy playing against. But then on the other flip side, you get those teams that you do end up with, the grounds you like playing at, the teams you like to play against, but there's always those individuals where you just nothing goes for you all the time, and then you dread the next time you play against them.
I never liked playing at Everton. I used to love playing at Liverpool. I never liked playing at Everton. A lad called Mickey Burns, who came to us eventually. He was playing at Blackpool and then Newcastle. Mickey, whatever way he kicked the ball, he kicked it into the ground, and it was very difficult to save it, whatever way he kicked it. And he came to us, and I said to him, and it was just the way he played. I don't think he scored a lot past me because he didn't play a lot, but he was one of them ones that kicked the ball very awkwardly, and it was awkward for the goalkeeper to save.
Great stuff.
Nobody else really, as I say, there's quite a few people scored past me, but I can't say there's anybody who scored more than anybody else. It probably is.
That's the joys of being a goalkeeper, though, I guess. You know what I mean? Someone's going to have to stop at you, aren't they? You know. So.
Oh, 100%. Andy, was there a goalkeeper who you used to like have a good record against, constantly score against?
Probably not a goalkeeper. You know what I mean? Obviously, the most, probably the best goalkeeper I think I ever faced and scored against. Obviously, my 3 goals were for Cardiff City against Oldham Athletic, and I grew up idolising Andy Gorham. Every time I played in goal, I used to love Andy Gorham. And then I remember when we travelled down to Oldham on that Friday night, we were in the hotel and Andy was there, and I sat down with him because he was having his dinner. You know, we were having pre-match meal. Sat down with him, had a good chat with him, got his autograph, and I was made up. But then obviously to play against him the next day, I was thinking I'd love to score. Got the first one, got the second one. When I scored a hat-trick, I was just it made my day. And you know what I mean? There was obviously loads of things happened in that game. We scored 7. He never played for Oldham again, and I felt a little bit guilty. But then I thought, well, bigger picture here. I'm selfish. Yeah. I got a little bit of a buzz for it, but no, I love that. I love doing it against him. There's a team though I hate playing against them. You know what I mean, personally, and it was West Ham. And it was West Ham every time I played away. Every time I played at Upton Park. You know what I mean? The atmosphere was always hostile. It wasn't. I wouldn't say I was intimidated, but you know what I mean. We just never got a good result against them. It was every time we were in the tunnel, we were coming out. I'm forever blowing bubbles, and then all of a sudden the game started, and it was just a wipeout, and it was just a washout. And every time I played there, we got heavily beaten for West Ham and for Middlesbrough and for Cardiff. I never got any change at all at Upton Park, and it was always a good game to play at.
West Ham are good teams, and you're right. That was a hard place to go to. Another place was a hard place to go to before I forget. Around that time was Leeds. These are a very intimidating ground to go to. Do
you find, though, Jim, now then, on those kind of points then, because I'm on about Upton Park, I'm on about probably Main Road, that grounds now aren't as intimidating now as they used to be because they're bigger, there's a lot more space, the pitch is quite far away from the grounds, etc.
And the fans are sitting down. They used to come forward and shout at you, and they were allowed to come forward, and they were more intimidated because they were standing. Yeah.
But then I could say that though about atmosphere as well, though, couldn't I? Because I was brought up watching Middlesbrough at Ayson Park. You know, I went with my dad. The atmosphere was always great, and the whole gate end was amazing. The atmosphere was great when they were goal winning. You know, that obviously I idolised Bernie and John Hendry and those kind of players, and seeing Bernie stand up at the whole gate end and celebrate with the supporters is one of those moments and one of those things that. I've got a photo of the fence at Ayson Park, a little bit of a snippet of the fence with Bernie scoring his goal and celebrating against Man United. Bernie scored past Michael, and it's those kind of moments that we never get back. You can't regenerate those kind of moments. That the Riverside's great. They had to make the move. For example, Cardiff City had to leave Ninian Park to generate more money as a business, but the atmosphere in both those grounds in particular is just nothing compared to what it was in the old grounds, in my opinion.
No, because there was. I mean, I played at Ayson Park with 42,000 people. Now you might have played with 42,000 people, but the Riverside only holds about 34.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of standing in those days, and they were quite boisterous. The fans behind the goals.
Yeah, and I'd like your thoughts on obviously you moved to Cardiff City, Jim. That obviously I know it was only a loan spell, I think. Obviously we've got a lot of Cardiff fans who watch this show, a lot of Middlesbrough fans as well. But we've had quite a lot of links, haven't we, Si? We've had myself, obviously, with the links of Middlesbrough and Cardiff. We've had Graham Kavanagh on, who's played for both. We've had other guests on who've played for both, and it's just a coincidence, by the way, that it's just it seems to be them links with the clubs that. It seems to happen quite often with certain clubs, and it was Lenny Lawrence obviously managed Middlesbrough, managed Cardiff City, so there's always these links in football which seems to follow around. And when I speak to a lot of Cardiff fans, Middlesbrough has a fond place in Cardiff fans' memories and lives because of the links with myself and Lenny and other players, really. So what were your memories of playing for Cardiff?
Well, first of all, I only played 4 games for them, you know. So it wasn't a lifetime. I was on loan.
It can be long. It can be long enough, though, Jim. I tell you.
Well, I didn't won a match when I was there. Their goalkeeper was injured, and I was out of the first team. I'd gone to Hartlepool for 2 months. The manager didn't want me to go, but I said I'd rather go there and play first team football and play for our reserves against Chesterfield Reserves or Halifax Reserves or whatever. So I went every 2 months. I came back, and Cardiff from NSW come for a month, and so I went to 4 games. So I enjoyed it. I don't think we won any matches. We weren't a good team then.
Yeah, so Jim, we had lots of questions from the people, so I tried to get through as many as I can to obviously for the people who've taken the time to ask you a question, and there's been lots of them. So I'm going to pick 2 to finish. We'll have John asks, who is the best goalkeeper in the world right now?
That's a good one, that.
I think you have to go for the Liverpool goalkeeper, possibly. I don't know many foreign goalkeepers. I haven't seen much of them, but the Liverpool goalkeeper.
Is that Alisson? Alisson Becker? Is that right? Is that or whatever he calls himself? Calls himself anything, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think if you'd asked me 12, probably 18 months ago, I'd have said David De Gea, and there's no one near him, but he has just gone off a cliff in the last 18 months. I don't know what's gone on with his form.
But Si, we spoke about there about Harry Kane getting dogs abuse and getting abuse off people. He's a human being, David De Gea, and some of the abuse he's taken, by the way, live on TV, Roy Keane in particular. You know what I mean? Is slanderous. You know, it's awful, and it's someone's opinion. Same as Paul Pogba.
There's a way to do it, though, isn't there, mate?
If people don't like somebody, you've just said there's a way to do it, and there's a manner. We have manners. We're brought up as nice people, and sometimes you don't have to be that brutal on live TV about an individual.
Especially for someone who had Player of the Year for 6 years before that for United, and won them games constantly. I felt like he was a bit out of order with the way that he went about it. But
anyone's allowed a bad game.
There's no getting away from it. It's not just 1 or 2 mistakes, is it? It's been
I get that. I get
seasons.
that. But thing is, Roy obviously made mistakes in his career. You know what I mean? Had bad times. You know what I mean? And
he
there wasn't the publicity which was around like there is now. That you know what I mean? Sometimes it's you got to be careful what you say.
It's an interesting
one. I made an odd one as well, Andy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Well, Jim, here's a question then for you on David De Gea. He's had a terrible 2 seasons. So in the summer, they've recalled Dean Henderson from Sheffield United, who's pushing to be the number 1, both for England and United. And all of a sudden, David De Gea's form has improved massively. I think he did make a mistake very early on in the season, but since then he's been pretty good. He hasn't made any mistakes. He's been in good form. He's in Europe. He's been in particularly good form. Psychologically, the goalkeeping position obviously is different to anything else on the pitch. But I would say, why has his form improved so much when he's got a bit more competition, whereby he had been so good previously, and then his form's dipped dramatically?
He was still under pressure last year from the other goalkeeper. I can't remember his name.
It's called was he Romero? The farm boy.
But he just made a few mistakes, and there were a couple of really bad mistakes. I reckon every goalkeeper would make between 3 and 5 really bad mistakes every year. And then there'd be a few more where people would say, well, you should have did this, you should have done that. David De Gea definitely made 3 or 4 bad mistakes last year. And he's come through that, and he will make the odd bad one again. I don't know enough about Dean Henderson to say if he's good enough to take over from yet, but at the moment, De Gea is the best for Man United.
Yeah. And final question from the chat, and thank you to everyone. And if I have missed any or we haven't got to any, I apologise. There's been a lot. Leslie Coates asked, did George Best ever score past Jim Platt?
Yeah, I said that before. In that match, it was 3-0. Best, Charlton and Morgan scored the 3 goals.
That's it, yeah.
I know Bobby Charlton definitely scored and Morgan scored the penalty. I think Bestie got the 3rd one. Or second one or whatever.
Yeah, I thought I wanted to get
you can't be too dramatic, can you? You can't.
No.
You can't be too dramatic. Sometimes you just got to just hold your hands up and just say, not bad players to score against you.
Absolutely. I wanted to get Leslie's question in because he asked a question earlier, which was a really good question about the penalty at the Kop and Manchester United and how it felt. but you'd already answered it in a like when we were talking about something else. So I wanted to get that in. And again, thank you to everyone who's sent in questions. And then Andy, I think you just wanted to kind of round us
Jim,
off there, mate.
I'd just like you to tell everybody, Jim, what you're up to now, because you know what I mean. You've gone down a different route of what you're doing currently. I know you were in the middle of doing. Well, you thought you were going to do a meeting tonight, weren't you, for something? So for people who don't know, Jim, what you're up to now?
Well, I thought I had retired, Andy. I'm 68. I've got my pension at 65. And somebody asked me would I stand for council. I said no, and they kept on at me, and I agreed. So I'm council from Middlesbrough Council. And been a lot to learn, and I'm still learning. Haven't made much of a difference yet, because I'm only one person, but I hope I'm serving my own area, which is the Cater area of Akron. I hope I'm serving them properly.
Well, Jim, I know how passionate you are about the area, so, you know what I mean, for me personally, I know we're in good hands, so, you know what I mean, I think keep it up, you know what I mean, I know how passionate you are about the football club, the area itself, the people who live here, so, you know what I mean, for me, thanks for coming on, you've been an amazing guest. Some of the questions, by the way, can I just say to people who've watched the show, commented in the group chat, that absolutely fantastic, the most
Phenomenal
interaction we've had in a long time, and it's amazing. We absolutely love doing this. It's absolutely, you know what I mean, I could sit here all night and talk about it, but I'm conscious that I don't want to take up any more of anybody else's time, and me and Si will probably just talk for the rest of the night.
Like we'll just talk now. But I'm going to very, very quickly, before we finish off, I'm going to very quickly just do a couple of plugs, because it's been a busy. I spent most of yesterday receiving messages about the Mental Health in Sports series before the show even went out. A massive thank you to Warsaw captain James Clark for talking to us so openly and honestly about his experiences with PTSD, because that's not easy for a current player to do, to be able to come out and talk openly about suffering with mental health issues. So a massive thank you to him, massive thank you to everyone who messaged about that show. We got a new one coming because the series has been extended. This Sunday we're going to be talking with ex-Sunderland and Cardiff City defender Darren Williams, recording that later in the week. I've also just had a message off another current player who's going to be filming the show as well, so thank you to everyone who tuned into that. And tomorrow night I'm live again with Super Kev for Kevin McNaughton Unscripted, so join us for that. It'll be interesting. It won't just be football talk, it'll be a bit of everything. And massive thank you to Black Diamond Sports, Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the show, of course, and most of all, thank you to the legendary Mr. Jim Platt, and every single person who comes in, week out, sends us messages, asks us questions, gets involved, likes, shares and everything. It means the world to us. We love it. There's a reason why people say we're the most interactive football show on the net. It's because it's true. That's why it is. Jim, thank you very much. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
And yes, Garen just asked, Cardiff City on Friday. Are we going to be on at the normal time, Andy?
What time does it kick off? I thought it was. Is it 5:30 kick off?
I'm not
Let
sure.
me just check while I'm.
You
while
check
I'm on.
that then, and I'll just read out some of these messages.
6
Garen
o'clock.
says, "Well done, Jim. Great show tonight. Great show. People are loving you, Jim. I got to say." Leslie says Jim's the next MP for Middlesbrough.
No.
What time was it, Andy? Sorry.
6 p.m. So we might have to go a little bit later. We might have to
So
finish.
what would it do?
Half
A
seven.
7:30 start,
7:30,
So
20,
just-
25, yeah, ish, yeah,
or 7:45 start or something?
yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah. We'll put out a post anyway. We'll basically start the second Cardiff City finishes.
Don't worry, we'll work around you guys.
Yeah, we'll change everything. We won't see our families. I won't see my wife and kids, and we'll change everything just so we can watch the football and then
talk about football. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, we'll sort something out. But for those of you who will be in tomorrow, I'll see you. For me and Kev, it's going to be interesting. I can say that much. But Andy, it's been a pleasure, mate, as always.
Yeah, I loved it. It's always
And,
nice to have it's always nice to have good people on who are passionate about what we do as well and enjoy it as much as we did. So thanks again, Jim. You've been a superstar, mate. Really appreciate it.
Enjoy it. And a good show, by the way.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Jim. And we'll see you next Monday, 7:30 for the Andy Campbell Football Show. Friday for the Andy Campbell Championship Show. Tomorrow for the Super Kev Unscripted. And Sunday for Mental Health and Sport. It is non-stop content. So spread the word, subscribe, and tell your friends.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.